love talking about communication skills and social skills, especially since I work with the youth. And one of the biggest things that we have to, teach the youth and go over with the youth is communication skills and social skills. So those of you that are not familiar with what I do, I'm an empowerment speaker. I'm also an organizer for Ace Ambition, which is a youth platform. I organize entrepreneurship and financial workshops for young men. And today we're going to talk about effective communication skills is going to solve problems. Now, I'm going to go over 10 things that I think people need to incorporate. And if they incorporate these things, I guarantee you it's going to really help with the communication and really solving those conflicts and so forth and so forth. So I'm going to go over 10 things to help your communication skills so you can solve those conflicts and solve those problems. And I really want you all to give me feedback, give me comments of what you feel was the best point, and let me know some things that people should incorporate yourself. But number one is stop going back and forth with people who are closed-minded. Stop going back and forth with people who are closed-minded. I see this a lot, and I really see this on social media. I see people going back and forth with people who don't even care about your point, who can care less about what you have to say, who can care less about what you value. They just care about their point, and their point is the only thing that matters. My thing is this: our time is very valuable. And what's up, Marquez? Our time is very valuable, and we cannot waste that with folks who can care less about your time. So with that being said, as soon as you identify that this person can care less about what I have to say, can care less about my point or whatever it is, then you need to understand or make up in your mind, am I going to continue going or continue talking, or am I going to just move on? Because essentially what you're doing, you're just wasting time. You're wasting time with someone who can care less about what you have to say. So number one, just put a number one. Number one is stop wasting time going back and forth with people who are closed-minded, who just don't care about what you have to say. Number two, I need to see some twos. Number two is just because you are stating your truth, understand that does not mean that it is right. So we just think sometimes because we're telling the truth or we're stating our truth that it's automatically right. So there's a difference between the truth and the fact. Truth and the fact. That may be your truth, but just because that's your truth does not mean that it's right. I hope that makes it. Let me know if that makes sense, okay? So those of you just logging on, we're talking about 10 things to really help you with your communication skills so you can solve conflicts and solve these problems, and we can get down to solutions, because to me the solutions is the main thing that really matters. Number three is just because you are stating a fact does not mean the tone and your language does not matter. So we think because we are stating a fact that we can talk to people how we want to talk to them. We just feel because we're stating a fact that it does not matter how we're coming across. We just believe because we're stating a fact, that's the only thing that matters. And that's just not the case. That's disrespectful, and you're not acknowledging their feelings and their emotions, and that creates a problem. Because it doesn't matter what you're stating, it doesn't matter how true it is or the fact. If you're coming off the wrong way, if you're coming off too strong, then that person is not going to receive it. I think that's very important to understand our tone and our approach to things so they can receive the message. I hope that really makes sense. Because sometimes we just think because we're right, because we're stating a fact, that our approach is irrelevant. Our approach is always important. And we have to, what's up, Dexter? We have to understand and always remind ourselves of sensitivity. We have to be sensitive to people's thoughts. We have to be sensitive to people's emotions. And when I say sensitive, I don't mean you have to be soft, but you have to be mindful. You have to value someone's opinions. You have to value someone's thoughts. You have to value their emotions and so forth, so we can get down to a solution. So just because you're stating the fact does not mean you can come at someone any old kind of way. We have to be mindful of that. Number four, listen to understand, not to react. Listen to understand, not to react. I know we all have been in situations where people were so quick to respond and not take time out to understand what you had to say. And that can become very problematic, because we can be going back and forth for no reason. We can be going back and forth because one person or both parties can care less about what the person is actually saying. What's the problem? You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes what I realize is we can spend a lot of time arguing over something that could have just took 2 minutes to just resolve. And like I said, we have to value each other's time. We have to value our own time. So when you just listen to understand and not listen to react, now what you're doing is you're valuing their thoughts, you're valuing their opinions, and you're taking time out to understand where they're coming from, so you understand what you may have to do, what you may have to say, what action that you have to take. All right. Number 5 is decipher when you need to listen more, and sometimes you just need to understand what action you need to take. Decipher when you need to listen more or talk more. We have to understand that sometimes we just need to sit back and listen. And that's all we really need to do. What I learned is listening can just be one of the best things that you can just really just do when we just take time out to listen more. We just focus so much on being heard and not listening. Sometimes that person just wants you to listen. It's really no problem. They just want you to finally just take time out to listen and actually acknowledge what they said. And just by doing that, that means everything to them. And this is the thing. One of the things what I learned in my social work program is how important it is just to acknowledge what someone said, just to acknowledge that you understand them. That's powerful to them, because so often when we're talking, so many people just want to give their opinion, just give their thoughts, give their advice. And to be quite honest, most people don't really want your advice. They didn't really ask for your opinion. They didn't ask for your thoughts. They didn't ask for your advice or anything. They really just wanted you to listen. So understand when you just need to listen more and when you need to possibly say more. Sometimes we just don't say enough. Sometimes we simply just don't say enough, and we may have to break things down a different way. So just because you repeated it 5 times doesn't mean that person's going to automatically understand it. Sometimes we have to break things down a different way. Yes, know when to sit and when to move. Most definitely. All right. So number 6 is underrated. Our body language. Our body language is something that we just need to really focus on. It's something that we can really lose conscious of what we're doing. I think we all have some type of, we probably have 1 or 2 habits when it comes down to our body language, whether we're rolling our eyes or we don't realize. A lot of us, we roll our eyes, we don't realize it. We exhale real loud. We slouching. Our backs are turned. We're not facing them. Body language say a lot. Body language tells someone that, you know what, this person is really listening what I have to say. And like I said, when you're really listening and that person know that you're listening, what you're doing is you're showing that you value, once again, you're valuing their opinions and their thoughts. So really be mindful and really take time out to understand, you know, when I have an issue, when there's a problem, when I'm trying to solve something, what is my body language saying, or what is my body language actually showing? Sometimes when it comes down to our habits, when it comes down to our body language, we probably don't mean any harm, but we could still come off the wrong way. And we just got to be mindful of that. So even though you feel like you're not coming off the wrong way, it's still, you should still be mindful of what the average person is really interpreting from that. And it's just, sometimes it's just a easy fix. Sometimes it's an easy fix. Just face the person. Just understand what your facial expressions are saying. Are you rolling your eyes? Whatever the case may be. So just be mindful of that. The next thing, number 7, is some of us have a huge habit of interrupting someone when they're talking. We have a huge issue with interrupting someone while they're talking. We do not want to be interrupted. And when we do interrupt each other, what we do, or what we're showing, is that our thoughts or what we have to say is more important than what you got to say. So, you know what, I don't want you to finish. What I have to say is da 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 da. You know, and we cannot solve problems when we're so focused on what we have to say. We have to stop interrupting people. We have to allow people to finish their thoughts. Now, there's a difference when they're going off for 30 minutes. Then we may have to, interject and say, you know what, you've been talking for a while. Let me get something in. But it's a bad habit for us to interrupt someone while they're talking. All right. Number 8, understand there's a time and a place to have certain conversations. There's a time and a place to have certain conversations. We have to be mindful of where we're at. We have to be mindful of the time of the day, and the time of the day may not be the best time of the day. It may be urgent. You may have to just go ahead and talk about whatever it is you had to talk about. Certain conversations, I believe, don't need to be discussed over social media. Certain conversations probably don't need to be discussed in front of a whole bunch of people. Certain conversations probably don't need to be discussed in front of family. Certain conversations probably don't need to be discussed in front of your kids. So we have to be mindful of the time and the place, and we have to understand, can this conversation wait until we're in a better destination, until we're in a better location? Do we need to wait until we're home? Do we have to wait until we have some quiet time? Do we have to wait until the next morning, until the next night? Whatever the case may be, I'm not saying to get away from the conversation, but making sure that we're in the best location or in an appropriate location, and making sure the time is appropriate. That makes a total difference in the conversation, in trying to accomplish and trying to solve whatever problem that we're trying to solve. All right. Number nine. Now, sometimes when we're having a conversation, you ever have a conversation with someone or you're trying to solve or come up with a solution, and you forgot your point. You said, you know what? It was something, I said what I wanted to say, but it was still something that I missed. And sometimes when you have to have a conversation with someone, when you have to have a sit down with someone, I say this: write it down. Write down what you really want to what you want to talk about, because it happens a lot. I know it happened to me a lot. There's something that I really want to say that's on my mind, and I just lose it. So I just get in the habit. If there's a lot that I have to get off my chest, I'll write that down. I'll write it down because I want to make sure when we sit down, I'm going over every point that I want to go over. All right. What's up, Zai? The last point. I told you I'm going to get straight to the point with this. The last point is to eliminate all distractions. Especially our phone. We love to have the phone in our hands. We love to be texting. We love to be on social media while we're trying to have a conversation with someone. And it's a bad habit. And it just displays so much disrespect. Because even though you are listening, it still doesn't register to that person who is talking to you that you're listening. So put the phone down, get off the computer, turn the TV off, whatever the case may be. Eliminate all distractions, because even though you're listening, there's no way that you can be occupied and doing something else and be fully in tune to what's being said. There's no way you can be occupied in something else and be fully in tune with what's being said. We can easily forget what was said. We can easily miss a point, whatever the case may be. Eliminate all distractions. Some conversations don't have to be the whole day, doesn't have to last a whole hour. And just turn the TV off for a little bit. Put the phone down. Put whatever it is that's in front of you down and get to the conversation. Get to the bottom of what's being said. Understand what's being said so you can solve the problem. We have to communicate better. I know one of the things that I just hate that we always say is, communication is everything. All right, so what does that mean? We have to really understand what does that mean. Have a strategy, have a game plan when it comes down to communicating. When it comes down to our partner, when it comes down to our friends, when it comes down to family, whatever the case may be, we have to be more strategic when it comes down to communication. Because if we're not strategic when it comes down to communication and we don't value people's thoughts, we don't value what's being said, we don't take time out to understand what's being said and not being so caught up with responding and reacting to what's being said, we're not going to solve any issues. We're not going to solve any problems. So those are the 10 points. Let me know. Thanks, Dexter. Let me know what points really stuck to you the most. Leave me some feedback. Leave me some comments. I told you I wasn't going to have y'all too long today. And I'm out. Once again, my name is Dominique Bond. We have a vision board event. Ranique put on a vision board event that I'll be speaking in. That's on Saturday. And please, I'm going to drop a link. And you probably already seen the flyer, so I'm going to drop a flyer. So that's a vision board event. Make sure you go to that event because we have some amazing people that's going to really give people some phenomenal strategies, not just when it comes down to developing your vision board, but so you can attack 2018 right. So we can attack 2018 accomplishing what we set out to do, because we have to have a strategy. There's more to it than developing a vision board. Vision board is excellent, but we don't have a strategy. We don't have a game plan to really attack what we put on that board. Then we're going to be putting on the same things on that board the same time next year. So we don't want that to happen. So check out the vision board event. If you're just tuning in, check out the replay with the 10 points and understand we have to develop communication skills and we have to incorporate communication strategies so we can solve problems and come up with solutions. My name is Dominique Bond and I am out.